figure things out, the goal was not to get divorced. That wasn't where we were last year. Like, even when people said last year that we were going our separate ways and all of that, Chris and I were trying every which way to figure out, like, how do we get that connection back? How do we bring it back together? And so even at that time, it wasn't true. Like, we weren't seeking a divorce. We were separated in a sense of like, okay, you focus on you, I focus on me, and let's see what happens. So we have been going through this process, and it's been years, like marriage, as many people know, it has its ups and downs, but you get to a point where you feel like you've reached that moment of like, what are we growing? Are we stagnant? Are we moving? Like, what's going on? And then you also have to consider the fact that we have 3 children, who are watching us. Our actions and how we interact with each other, how we run our household, that is literally an example for our children of how they're going to live their life, and I don't want our children to ever be in a relationship where they feel like they're not being heard, whether that's on my side or Chris's side, talking at each other, like the marriage becomes like a battlefield. So you get to a point where you also have to consider the fact that we have 3 little people that are literally looking at us, and they're taking notes, and they're like, okay, this is what's normal, and it's not normal. So so that's where we are. You guys don't have to be sorry. It's just a part of life. Unfortunately, sometimes it happens. Some people stay married forever. Some people don't. My parents were married for 23 years and got divorced. I know couples that have been married for 60 years and they're miserable, and they literally let their whole life just fade away, So it's really what you make it. And if you get to a point where you're like, what, we have grown so far apart that it may be best that we focus on ourselves individually and then focus on the 3 important people in our lives, which is our children. And that's what we decided to do. So let me see. How do you keep out the noise and find your balance and peace during this time? So one of the major things for me has been really finding myself. I've been on this self-love journey. I never realized how much I didn't love myself. That was like a huge revelation, because I always felt, because I'm a very secure person, I thought that was self-love. I wasn't aware of myself, I was completely unaware of myself. Even watching last year when we were on Love and Marriage DC, I was going through it. Like, I was yelling, I was upset. That was me crying out. That was me like really fighting. Like, I was like on my last leg fighting for my marriage, and really hoping that we could see where each other was, and try to get on the same page. But when I look back on it, even with the editing trickery, at the end of the day, my response was still my response, and I take accountability for that. And I wouldn't want to be with a person like that is just like, yeah. But I also realized that my approach became that because I was so desperate, like, to be heard. I was so desperate, like, come on, we got to make this work. But then you get to a point where you realize that begins to tear you down, yourself and the other person. And then you're trying to pick up the pieces and build it back, and it just becomes this roller coaster, and it becomes more and more difficult. So I did not want to get to that point where now there's so much friction and tension that now we can't even parent our kids. And so many times you see couples take to social media, bash each other, and it's like, how does this help the kids that you're raising? It's awful. And I'm never going to be that person. Like, at the end of the day, the reasons that led Chris and I to be where we are our reasons. That's our business. It's what stays in our house, and our children are the ones that are exposed to those things. They know. They take witness to everything that happens here, and we're trying to do things that will turn it around. And sometimes that doesn't always mean doing it together, So, yeah, we have love for each other. We'll always have love for each other. And we're going to do the very best that we can do to co-parent and raise our children the right way, and allow them to see a different type of example of partnership. So we have a new normal. That's what I tell my kids. I'm like, we have a new normal now, So the biggest, that we went live with you. No, when I went live and shut down the divorce rumors, that was in October. And I know it was October because it was literally right after my birthday. So yeah, so you're wrong. I'm talking about this past April, like 2 months ago, almost 3 months ago is what I'm talking about. Y'all swear y'all be knowing the timeline. Hello, it's my life. I know exactly what times things are happening over here. So yeah, we've kept it transparent with our children from the beginning. You know, so someone said, how did you know to walk away? I was in therapy and my counselor asked me, she said, I don't want you to answer this now. She said, but what is it that you want? If you can have the ideal marriage, if you can have everything that it is that you want from a partner, she said, what is it that you want? And she told me to write those things down. So I wrote those things down. Then she said, okay, if he is unable to do those things for you and he is the same as he is right now and he never changes, are you able to live life with him for the rest of your life? And she said, I want you to think about it. And the next time we meet, we'll talk about it. But she's like, I don't want you to answer right now. And I took 2 weeks writing down all of the pros, all of the cons, and really, really, really thinking about it. And I just got to the point where I was like, I was in a place where I was so miserable. And and it wasn't just like all on him. It was also just with myself, like dealing with my own issues and trauma, understanding myself and why I respond and react the ways I do, going through my childhood. I'm talking about, y'all, I've done some work. I've been doing some work, and it wasn't easy. It is not easy to look at the things about yourself that you don't like and that you don't love and say, you know what, I'm going to love me anyway. I'm going to love the bad parts of me. I'm going to love the good parts, which is easier, you know. But even the things that I don't like about myself, I have to really embrace that and love that. Like, oh my God, it has been quite a ride. But I was determined to really do the work and grow. And the more I grew and the more I started to realize myself and I started to create boundaries for myself, that's when I knew I am no longer the person that I was that walked down an aisle 11 years ago. And you get to a point where you just accept the fact that this is the fact, like this is where it is, you know? And that's what led me to the point where I was just like, you know what? I feel like this will be best, because if we keep going down this road and we're bickering at each other and we're not able to communicate, sometimes not even talking to each other, then how is that going to affect our children? And that's when I started thinking, because I was thinking like most people, it's like, okay, we're going to stay together for the kids. But that never works, because staying together for the kids means that you're giving them a terrible example of what a relationship should be like, you know? So yeah. So that was that. All right, I'm scrolling through. Y'all got a lot of questions. The tea I'm drinking, it's a ginger turmeric by Dr. Nettles. Yeah. So yeah. So I know people are like, oh, make it work, but if y'all could understand the amount of growth that has happened since we stopped trying to focus on the marriage, the amount of growth, y'all see Chris? Like, it's like something clicks and it's like you just go into this almost like survival mode. Like, okay, that may not be working out, but I have so much life to live and I have to do better for myself. I feel like sometimes in marriage you can get comfortable. And then when that happens, you know, it's not good for anybody. It's not good for the kids to witness. It's not good for your spouse. So at the moment where it was just like, okay, now it's like do or die. Now I need to fight for me, you know? But the amount of growth that I've seen in myself and in Chris since we got to this place, and I'm not saying that it hasn't been difficult, but the amount of growth that's happened, even our children, the way that they are seeing us be even more present with them. I am a really good mom. Like, I love being a mother. I love my babies. Y'all know that. Like, y'all see it when y'all are on my page on Instagram. Like, y'all see it when I post stories. And that's just small portions of some of the things that we do together. I don't put everything on social media, you know? But I love being a mom. I love my babies. And even my children notice a difference in how we're able to parent, with us not focusing so much on the marriage. We're just focusing on ourselves and we're focusing on our children. And I hope that I am now, and I won't even say I hope that, I know that right now I am being a far more better example of self-love for our children now than I ever have in my life. I've been preaching it to them, but I've not been loving myself properly. When you love yourself, you're aware of yourself, you have boundaries. You have things that you know are your deal breakers. You have things that you know, like, this is what I need. And also, I need to be whole, not because of another person. I need to be whole because of me. And when you start really doing that work and going on that journey, you look at everything different. You know, you really do. So yeah, it's not been the easiest decision to make, but it's where we are. And, you know, we'll continue being a family. We'll continue to co-parent in a way that is loving. And you know, that's where it is. So no one knows my story. No one knows Chris's story other than us and our children. And I appreciate everybody's opinion and feedback and everything. But at the end of the day, there's only 3 opinions that I really care about. And that's Christopher, Milani, and Chase. And that's it. So yeah. So that's what it is. Did becoming a radio host, going back to work, make you realize this? No, I started this process when I was on Housewives of Potomac. If people who actually go back and watch Real Housewives of Potomac, like, the same complaints that I had have been the same for years, you know? But I also had to look at myself, because it's easy to look outward and say, well, you should do this, this, and this, and you should fix this, this, and this. But when I started doing the work on myself as well and being accountable for myself, that's when everything really starts to make sense, you know? We'll so quickly just judge other people based on superficial stuff, you know? Like, oh, y'all got this big house, and oh, y'all got a bunch of money, and oh, you got nice cars, and oh, you travel. I mean, those things are wonderful, but if you're not happy with yourself, what's the point? Like, what's the purpose? You know, we can go on a beautiful trip and be arguing most of the time. Y'all see the highlights of the trip. Like, who posts on social media all of the arguments? Like, nobody does that. So a lot of it can tend to get superficial, you know? But at the end of the day, you do feel like, you know, this is my marriage, this is my family, I'm doing what's best for them, I'm keeping our business to ourselves. So you tend to think that you're doing what's right, but at the end of the day, sometimes it can really be tearing you down. And then you don't really feel like you're living your truth, you know? So yeah. So, I mean, that's just where we are. All right, y'all want to know about my living arrangements? Yeah, we're still living together right now. So I'll go ahead and tell y'all, I bought a house back in March. I'm remodeling it right now. It's a beautiful home. I love it. It's 5 bedrooms. It's really nice. On a little over an acre of land, and it's beautiful. I'm really excited about it. I call it my haven. So I'm just waiting to finish the remodel. I want to make sure that the children, you know, they have their own rooms and stuff. So they're like coming up with their theme. They're excited that they have another house added to their list of houses. But yeah, they're telling me like what their themes are that they want for their rooms and how they want their room to look. So they're really excited that they're gonna, you know, like, we are making it a pleasant experience for them. If Chris and I were at each other's necks and we're arguing and going crazy on each other, it puts the children in an uncomfortable position because they pick up on that energy, you know? And, you know, so it makes it a little bit more pleasant when we can actually get along and have like cordial conversation and be amicable. And that's what we've been. We honestly, it's like we argue less and we're able to have a friendlier conversation now, you know? So when someone had asked, y'all are asking like questions like what exactly was it? What exactly was the problem? I'm not going to go deep into that. I mean, it really doesn't matter. We are where we are regardless, with y'all knowing that information or not knowing that information. But this is what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to say things that will paint a negative image of him, nor will he say things that's going to paint a negative image of me, because at the end of the day, what good is that going to do? Me trying to defend my actions and justify why I am where I am really does nothing for us to just put that out on social media. Like, it really does nothing for us, and it does nothing for our co-parents and relationships. So I know the reasons why. He knows the reasons why. We are where we are, and that's pretty much it. We have been married 11 years. So March 3rd this past year made 11 years. And yeah, so yeah. Oh, so someone asked, a really good question. Someone asked, do you think reality TV played a role in the demise of your marriage? And honestly, actually, it's crazy. Chris and I were talking about this. When we started doing reality TV, we were not in a great place. Like, that was back in 2016, and I was ready to leave. I was ready to dip out. Like, I was very upset, and it was for different reasons. Like, back then, it was just like we weren't dating anymore. Like, the connection felt like it was gone. It was like all about the kids. I had just had Milani, and then once we started doing reality TV, in so many ways, and I've said this before in an interview with Bryce Sanders with ET, Entertainment Tonight, in so many ways, doing RHOP actually gave our marriage new life, because it really got us out the house. It gave us something else to focus on. We were having fun again. You know, when we were filming and doing couples things, we were like hanging out and dating, and you know, it kind of gave us new life. So honestly, it added more years on to our marriage. But then when you have deep-rooted issues, they tend to resurface, you know? So they never really go away just because you have more things to do or you get busier. And that's pretty much what happened. We got busy, and all the activity overshadowed some of the major issues that we were dealing with, because we really didn't have time to address it. So yeah, I wouldn't say that reality TV was a factor in why we are where we are. I wouldn't agree with that at all. Actually, it gave us years. So yeah. So yeah, do you feel as though Chris' family will judge you? His family was just here this past weekend, and there was no judgment. It's all love. Everybody is processing things how they process things. When you are a person that is married and you're seeing other married couples go through, you can relate, because you probably had hard moments. You know, maybe you didn't get divorced, maybe you were able to turn it around, but you get it, you know. So yeah, and at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for us, you know. We all lead different paths, you know. Like, what works for our shoe isn't going to work for somebody else's shoe. And I'm not out here advocating divorce, you know. Like, you know, the thought of it, I hate it. I never thought that we would be here. You know, when I married, when we got married, I mean, I truly believed, I was just like, oh no, it's not an option. I mean, an advocate always for marriage, you know. Always wanted to be married. Always wanted to have that partnership and have a family since I was a little girl. So to get to this moment was devastating. But at the end of the day, I had to get to a point where I also was like, I really need to do what's best for me, my mental space, our children, and that's where we are. So yeah, so the dynamic is, it's shifting. But it's still shifting in a positive way. And one thing that I say every day, when I'm driving to work, I do affirmations in the car. I remind myself who I am. I say what I am, what I feel, what I see. And one thing that I know without a shadow of a doubt, everything that happens is for my good. You know, maybe my story will save someone's marriage. You know, maybe we'll wake up and see ourselves. I know when Love and Marriage DC aired last year, and a lot of women were really upset. They were like, how are you talking to Chris like that? You know, they weren't seeing the whole conversation. Of course, with reality TV, you're going to show the part where I'm amped up. You ain't show what led up to the reaction. You just going to show the reaction. But at the end of the day, I still said what I said, how I said it. And I remember a woman, actually a couple women came up to me, and one of the ladies said she was so mad at me Like, I'm watching the show, and she's like, I was furious at you. I couldn't believe that you were talking like that. And then she said, and then I sat back and tried to figure out, why am I so mad? And then she said, oh my God, it's because that's me. And she realized her watching me and her getting so upset about it was actually her seeing herself. And she said after watching that, it actually helped her be more mindful of her tone and how she translated what she needed to translate to her husband. And I was like, wow, that was powerful. And I told her, I was like, you know, it was a miserable experience. Being on Love and Marriage DC was awful. It was the worst reality TV experience I've ever experienced. I thought RHOP was bad. That was 20 times worse, for so many different reasons. But it was good for me because it allowed me to see myself, and it allowed me to not, it allowed me to get to a point where I no longer cared about other people's opinion of me. I cared more so about my opinion of me. And I didn't like what I saw. And I said, whoa, we got to make some changes. So I had to completely kill my ego. Anybody that follows me on Twitter, last year, that was all I was posting about, you know, and tagging, you are enough. All of those messages that I post on Twitter and that I post on Instagram, that's me preaching to me. And I share it because I want it to hopefully help somebody else. So yeah. Woo! So yeah. We post what we want people to see. Yeah, we post what we want people to see on social media. You know, like we post a cute picture of us with the kids, right? Right? When we get our kids together and we're like, come on, let's take a picture. We choose the best picture where they're all looking and hopefully smiling. But there's like 20 pictures before that where one's crying, one's looking the wrong way, one's looking down, one's slouched over, one ain't got their hand over here. Like, y'all know how it is. You know? Like, we are, we're humans just like everybody else. You know? We have the same issues, you know? At the end of the day, some of our deep-rooted issues are more similar than they are not, you know? So yeah. You bought a house before you filed. Yeah, so I'll give y'all a little tea. Before we filed, we were already in mediation. So we were mediating, and we decided that we wanted to handle how we would handle the exit of our marriage in a way that we wanted to do it together. So we used a mediator. So I had already started looking for houses, like 2-3 months prior, while we were in mediation. So January is when we knew this is where we were headed. And then 4 months later is when I finally filed. So yes, I did. And a part of that process was also wanting the transition to be smooth, because I wouldn't want to move out of this house and then I have a temporary living situation where the children aren't comfortable. So that wouldn't make sense. So yeah. I'm reading y'all's comments now. Do you, Mo? Self-love, gotta be happy. I'm excited for you. Best to you and Chris in this new journey. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, sometimes you have to let people go for them to grow. Absolutely. Will you go on vacation as a family? I would hope to. I would hope to, but you know, it might be some time before that happens. We did all go to Florida together recently to see my mom. So yeah, so we'll get there. It's baby steps. We have to do what's best for us emotionally as well. So yeah, I choose me, and honestly, this is the most peace that I've had in my life. You know, I finally feel like I'm making decisions based on what I want for me. You know, like I made a lot of decisions in my life, like people pleasing, you know, doing what I felt others would want me to do, or what other people suggested me to do. Even I spoke at this women's conference a few months ago, and we were talking about the secrets to success, and I said the secret to success is self-love, But then I went back to when I was a child. Even the idea of marriage, that was something that society kind of put on you, even as a child. So even the idea of marriage wasn't something that I just came up with on my own. You know, especially growing up in the 80s, you know, we were always taught as little girls, it's like, oh, when you grow up and get married and have babies, you know? So even with that, I was like really sitting back trying to think, like, when have I ever made a decision that was purely what I wanted to do, not what I was expected to do, not what I was told to do? You know, and I really had to think long and hard about it. And I was like, wow, I think the only decision that I ever made really that was like what I wanted to do and everybody else was against it was when I dropped out of college. I had a full academic scholarship to Duquesne University business law program, and I was like, I want to pursue music, and I dropped out, and everybody was mad at me, you know. But it's amazing how one decision will lead to the next. You know, I moved to DC, and because of that decision, I met my future husband. You know, we had 3 beautiful children. You know, I don't have any regrets. You know, I just have lessons that I've learned, and I'm grateful for it. And you know, like, life can be beautiful if you want it to be. And you know, it's a lot. So yeah, I'm looking at y'all's comments. I'm not getting quiet just to get quiet. So why have a 3rd child? So maybe you aren't married, but in most marriages you have ups and downs, and you know, sometimes things are going good. It can be months where they're going great, and then it can be months where they're going bad. So, you know, it happens. Like, what do you mean, why'd you have a 3rd child? Like, what kind of question is that? So yeah, being vulnerable is brave. Thank you for being, no, it's definitely a brave thing to be vulnerable, to be able to really, like, express yourself and share yourself without fear or care of judgment. And yeah, why'd you leave Love and Marriage DC? Because the contract wasn't right. Simple as that. Contract wasn't right. I was negotiating a contract for weeks and weeks and weeks, and nobody wanted to move. So I said, well, shit, I ain't moving either then. So that's that. Simple as that. And I was fully open to share, you know, what we were going through. Like, anytime I do anything, I'm always hoping that it helps somebody else. So being real and all of that good stuff, you know, that's what I do. I don't like to hold back, because that's not me being me. You know, I like to be able to live in truth and just, like, I'm unfiltered. I like to say whatever is on my mind, you know, and that's what I do. And that's why I'm so good at radio, and I love it so much, because I get to be unedited, unfiltered, and it's incredible. So I want to give y'all I'm back. I want to give y'all a promo code, so y'all know to pop up. We're going to try to go live again tomorrow. Hopefully Instagram is acting better. I'm going to pin my website. So shopmilaeve.com. Use promo code CHOOSEPEACE, and you'll get free shipping over $50. So if you spend over $50 or more, you'll get free shipping on your order. I did that because we are having a pop-up on Saturday, and I'm giving people a 15% off discount for those who come to the pop-up. But for you all who don't live in the area, if you want to take advantage of getting some amazing products that will literally change your life, I want you to also, you know, get a little promo code and have a little something. So yeah, you'll get free shippings. Shipping's on me. Oh, you just got the tea? Yes, Dr. Nettles is amazing. So yeah, so I have all my skincare products here. The Flawless Face Cleanser. It's a charcoal face cleanser. It doesn't strip your skin of its natural oils. It cleanses it without stripping, which is very important. Glow Exfoliator, which literally it buffs your skin so that all the other products can work to their optimal effect. Flawless Glow Toner. This has been in my store for 2 years. It's my best seller. It's amazing. So yeah, you do the face wash first. Always wash your face first before you exfoliate and before you use a mask. You always wash first. That's important. So you wash your face, You use the toner, then you follow up with the glow serum, then you use the moisturizer, and then let it sit. And I use my hands. I don't use scrubbers and all that type of stuff. Like, I use my hands. Natural is best. And my skin, it's like I'm not tearing my skin down, you know? I'm letting it do what it needs to do. Then I have a turmeric mask and a charcoal clay mask. So the charcoal clay mask is really good for drawing out acne. And if you have like an acne breakout, you put that mask on, it really brings everything to the surface and dries it up. The turmeric is really good for even toning the skin. If you have hyperpigmentation issues or things like that, the turmeric is amazing for that. Clearing the skin, making it glow, all of that good stuff. So, yes. All right, so let me go back to y'all's questions. Happy you both did what was best, not only for y'all kids, but as well. My parents attempted to force their marriage for the sake of